I was my father's other family. I grew up knowing something was wrong. I could never quite explain it, but there was always a strange silence surrounding my father's presence, or rather, his absence. He was never a constant figure. He would appear and disappear like a ghost, without explanations, without commitments. My mother, on the other hand, worked tirelessly to raise me on her own. She worked long hours, made sacrifices, and fought to give me everything she could. Meanwhile, my father, well, he just wasn't there. It wasn't until I was about 10 or 12 that the pieces started falling into place. One day, I looked at his phone and saw a family group chat where neither my mother nor I were included. Other contacts were saved as my love and my son. I never said anything, but that memory stayed with me. And every time he received a call and hid in my room to answer, my anger only grew. My mother knew, I knew, but she never confronted him. Years passed, and then, just before the pandemic, that memory resurfaced to haunt me. I needed answers. So I started searching. The first clue came from Facebook, the place where adults expose their lives without thinking twice. It was difficult, but I found a few photos and comments that made me even more suspicious. Nothing concrete, but enough to leave me uneasy. It was only during the pandemic that I finally uncovered the full truth. My father left his email open on my computer. I knew it was wrong, but curiosity and resentment took over. And there it was. Documents, conversations, bank records. Every click confirmed what I had always suspected. I was the other family. My father was married. He had 4 legitimate children. While my mother struggled to raise me alone, he was supporting another home. In fact, he was paying off a student loan for one of his sons at the exact time I was in elementary school, the same period when he told my mother he couldn't afford to help financially. That was the day my childhood ended. The rage inside me burned like an uncontrollable wildfire. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But instead, I swallowed it all and went to therapy. My therapist encouraged me to confront him. She said that no matter how painful it was, I needed to hear the truth from his own mouth. It was hard, but one day, he gave me the opportunity himself. With the utmost casualness, my father confessed. He told me that yes, he had a wife and 4 children. He said that he loved me very much, but would understand if I never wanted to see him again. I should have felt something at those words, but all I felt was a cold emptiness. Then I asked if I could meet my siblings. That was when he got defensive. Too fast, too afraid. That would just create more problems for me, he said. Translation: he was afraid of the scandal. Months later, my mother finally found the courage to end everything with him. If he came to the house, it would be only to see me. Nothing more. I fully supported her. But my father still didn't know that I had every piece of the puzzle. One day he came to visit me and told me he was still in love with my mother. For the first time, I laughed in his face. In love? Then explain something to me. If you loved my mother so much, why did you make her go through all this? He stammered. He tried to justify himself, but there was no answer that could redeem what he had done. That was the last time I saw any humanity in him. I wanted revenge, but I didn't want something impulsive. I wanted something that would truly make him pay. So I started planning. And the first step was finding my siblings. I found some of them on Instagram. It was easier than I expected. Then, carefully, I started talking to one of them. He had no idea who I was, but I knew exactly who he was. I knew everything about him. I started a friendly conversation, earned a little trust, and once I did, I dropped the bombshell. Did you know you have a sister? The shock in his response was immediate. He didn't know. None of them knew. Curiosity took over. Questions started coming, and I answered every single one. In detail, I sent documents, screenshots, everything I had, and then I let chaos do its work. It took a few weeks, but one day, I received an unexpected message. It was my father's wife, the betrayed woman, the deceived wife. She didn't insult me. She didn't accuse me. She only had one question. Is it true? I simply forwarded the files once again. It didn't take long for everything to fall apart for him. I never found out exactly how it happened, but I heard there was a massive fight, yelling, doors slamming, my siblings furious at being lied to, my stepmother finally realizing the truth. In the end, he lost everything. The perfect family he worked so hard to protect, shattered. The unhappy marriage he never had the courage to end, over. The children he kept hidden from me now knew I existed. And my father, well, he never brought it up with me again. Today, he still shows up occasionally, tries to redeem himself with pitiful financial support. But I see it in his eyes. He's broken. He knows that I was the one who destroyed his double life. And that was my revenge. I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to take him to court. I only had to expose the truth. And now, he lives in the hell he created for himself.